What if one of the biggest weapons against cancer wasn't some brand new, super expensive drug, but a common antibiotic that's been on pharmacy shelves for over 50 years? Well, today, we're diving into the incredible story of how a familiar medicine is being given a brilliant new mission to take on one of our toughest diseases.
So here's how we're going to break it down. We'll start with this old drug's new trick. Then we'll see how it disarms a tumor, stopping it from spreading. Next, how it starves the very engine of cancer. This all creates a deliberate weakness, setting the stage for a clever 1-2 punch. And finally, we'll ask what this could all mean for the future of medicine.
All right, so our story really kicks off with this idea called drug repurposing. It's exactly what it sounds like, taking an old, well-understood drug and finding a completely new job for it. And the star of our show today is Doxycycline. You might have heard of it. It's an antibiotic that's been around for decades, used for everything from acne to infections. But now, it turns out it has a pretty amazing hidden talent. And that leads us to the big question, right? It sounds almost too good to be true. How can a simple antibiotic, something made to fight bacteria, have any kind of effect on cancer cells? Well, the answer is fascinating. It's not about a brute force attack. It's way more subtle, a really strategic attack on how these cells survive. Okay, so the first part of this strategy targets one of cancer's most dangerous features, its ability to spread, or metastasize. See, for a tumor to invade new parts of the body, it has to literally carve a path through your tissues. And to do that, it needs a specific set of tools. And those tools are these little enzymes called MMPs. Now, the easiest way to think of them is like molecular scissors. Seriously, cancer cells pump these things out to just snip and cut their way through the body's structure, clearing a path so they can invade new territory. So, logically, if you can take away the scissors, the invasion grinds to a halt. And check this out. Here you can see that idea in action. On the left, we've got prostate cancer cells, and all that dark brown stuff shows they're just loaded with those MMP scissors. But look at the right. After being treated with doxycycline, the brown stain is almost gone. The antibiotic is basically confiscating the cancer's tools, leaving it stuck in one place. So the big question is, does this actually work? Well, this data from a breast cancer study says a big yes. You can clearly see the group that got a placebo has a much higher tumor burden. That's the total amount of cancer. But the group that got doxycycline? Way lower. So by taking away those molecular scissors, doxycycline slows down the cancer's ability to grow and spread. But that's just part one.
Because, just stopping the spread isn't enough. To really beat cancer, you've got to go after the source, the cancer stem cells. You can think of these as the queen bees of the tumor. They are incredibly resilient. They can create whole new tumors, and they are notoriously hard to kill because they run on these supercharged engines.
And that engine, as this research points out, is their mitochondria. Cancer stem cells are just jam-packed with them. Mitochondria are basically the power plants for our cells, and these specific cancer cells have an absolutely massive power grid, giving them all the energy they need to survive and rebuild. Now, this is where doxycycline pulls its second move. It turns out that mitochondria are actually ancient relatives of bacteria. So an antibiotic, a bacteria killer like doxycycline, can mess with them. It specifically gums up the works inside these cellular power plants, basically causing an energy blackout for the cancer stem cells. And this graph right here is the proof. It's measuring how much oxygen the cells are using, which is a perfect way to see how hard their mitochondrial power plants are running. The blue line, that's untreated cells, going full throttle. But that red line, the one treated with doxycycline, look at that. Their oxygen use just plummets. It's visual proof that their power plants are shutting down. But here is where the strategy gets really clever. Shutting down the main power plants doesn't actually kill all the cancer cells. Some of them manage to survive. And you know what? That's not a failure. That's the whole point. Doxycycline's real job here is to create a very specific, very deliberate weakness. It's about backing the cancer into a corner. Okay, think about it like this. Before doxycycline, cancer cells are flexible. They can use their main engine, the mitochondria, which is super efficient. Or, if they need to, they can switch to a kind of weak backup generator called glycolysis. But after doxycycline takes that main engine offline, all that flexibility is gone. The survivors are now totally 100% dependent on that one weak, inefficient backup generator. And now, they have an Achilles heel. So what do you do once you've created a huge, glaring weakness? You exploit it. This is where the 1-2 punch comes in. It's time for the knockout blow, aimed directly at that flimsy backup generator. And the strategy is just beautifully simple.
Step 1, like we saw, use doxycycline to shut down the main engine and force the cancer onto its backup, glycolysis. Step 2, you hit it with something that takes out glycolysis. And believe it or not, that something is just high-dose vitamin C. It turns out vitamin C is a great inhibitor for that backup pathway.
This whole approach actually has a scientific name, synthetic lethality. And the idea is really cool. On their own, neither of these is a silver bullet. Doxycycline leaves some survivors, and vitamin C by itself isn't strong enough. But when you put them together, it's lights out. You kill the main power, then you kill the backup power. With nowhere left to get energy, the cancer stem cells just starve. So let's just zoom out for a second. What does all this mean? I mean, this is about way more than just one antibiotic and one vitamin. It's about a whole new way of thinking, a shift in how we can tackle diseases like cancer.
This really shows the power of drug repurposing. We have this enormous toolbox of medicines that we already know are safe, they're well understood, and a lot of them are pretty cheap. By really getting into the nitty-gritty of how a disease works, we can figure out how to use these existing tools in totally new and brilliant ways.
And that really just leaves us with a final, fascinating thought. If a 50-year-old antibiotic can be part of a sophisticated, cutting-edge cancer strategy like this, it just makes you wonder, what other secrets are hiding in plain sight in our medicine cabinets? What other everyday drugs are just waiting for us to figure out their extraordinary hidden potential?